very, very young candidate, younger than me, and I thought I was young, but I guess I'm old now. He goes to McGill with me, I guess. I didn't know this, so it's my peer. Why don't you introduce yourself for the camera?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Nicholas Filipchuk. I'm running to be a city councillor in District 5. Sorry, District 7 in Kirkland.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah, so I'm running to be a city councillor. I'm 20. I'm born and raised in Kirkland. Lived here my whole life, and anyways, I'm just really excited to be running, and really excited to be having an interview.
Now, in a campaign process, you've probably had to. Is there things that you didn't expect when you signed up for this, or is it kind of like going according to what you thought it would be?
I mean, like, I've never been in politics. I'm 20, but I didn't realize, like, I thought municipal politics was going to be a lot like lower stakes, a lot like, I just didn't realize how important municipal politics was actually going to be, and kind of like meeting all the candidates and also being like, wow, like this is like it feels like a very serious race, like just meeting all the other candidates and realizing, like, damn, like I was taking it seriously and they're taking it seriously. Yeah. And kind of just realizing, like, wow, like it's competitive, and like I don't know. I was like, you hear all the time about like federal politics, and you hear how like almost like cutthroat it is. Yeah. Like, oh, there's no way it's like that at the municipal level. And
I mean, like, people are people. So okay, yeah. You knock on someone's door. 4 other people have probably knocked on their door. You've probably come across a door like that. Yeah. What's your pitch? How do you level with them?
I like to talk about how I'm like from Kirkland. Like, I have this different perspective. I mean, everybody who I'm running against is like double or triple my age, and I mean, they've gotten to experience Kirkland as like a parent, like raising a kid here. I've gone to experience Kirkland as like someone who grew up here, like using the parks, using the services, going to the camps, like using the city programs, going to the library, and like going to school. Like when I went to elementary, like going to school near here. And I kind of just have like, I feel like I have this different perspective. And what I like to pitch to people is that I'm coming in from the position of someone who like got to actually enjoy what Kirkland gave me and what like past city councilors built for us. And I just really have this like desire to like give back and build something that I can also, that I know will help like other kids that are coming after me, but also like coming from a place of like, I didn't have a car. I mean, I was like, I got my license a little late, but like I didn't have a car, and like I had to walk around everywhere or bus around everywhere, bike around everywhere, and kind of having this other perspective of someone who like, not to say that I'm like a senior, but like someone who has like mobility issues, who has to like take public transport everywhere. Like, I kind of got this different perspective of like just what it's like being a pedestrian in Kirkland, having to walk around everywhere or bus around everywhere.
Stuff. I used to work at the Walmart in Kirkland, and every time I'd have a break, it just felt like I was stranded. I was like, oh man, everything's so far. I mean, probably good in terms of didn't spend all the money I made during my shift. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, like, it is saying something, like, we do live in very, very car-centric areas. Yeah. And, you know, there's an argument for it of, you know, some people, like, that's why a lot of people move here, right? And out of all of Montreal, because, you know, you see, like, all the way from, you know, Westmount to East End aren't very car-centric. So that's an argument for some people. But then for other people, it's like, hey, man, I see that as we're behind in the progress, you know? So I like, there's a lot of... It's different. You know, it's like growing up in the West Island doesn't feel too dissimilar from how it was like growing up in the middle of Illinois, which are like, you know, American car-centric cities. But it's so strange because the second you go downtown, right, a lot of your downtown's friends will tell you, West Island, that's so far away. Yeah. Right? But from the West Island, downtown's like a 20-minute drive. But they don't think from a point of view of cars. No, they don't think that. They think of everything by walking and everything by, you know... So it's a very different perspective where, like, you know, even a lot of the activities we had growing up, it was very like, you know, soccer mom driving you somewhere.
You had the bus everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was, like, there's people I speak to who live downtown, and they say like, they talk about the West Island, they're like, that's not even Montreal. Yeah. Because it's so like, when you're in the plateau, and then like imagine going from the plateau to like St. Charles or like any of the big like boulevards, like Sources, and you're looking around, you're like, how could this be on this, like, how could this be 20 minutes away from somewhere where there's like literally 0 cars on the street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it is, I guess the West Island experiment was more of like the suburban sprawl, like experiment where, like, you know, where we have a lot of companies, a lot of offices, a lot of factories, a lot of like middle management kind of things here. And honestly, a lot of the West Island started off, at least St. Anne's, it was like a resort town to downtown, right? Because if you're taking the train, right, this is where people would go to vacation from their Westmount houses or whatever. And that's why you see Senville. Yeah. And that used to be people's summers houses. So it's like, it's very interesting the way it emerged, you know, or like a lot of Kirkland or even, what is it, Dorval is like the post-World War II, you know, like prefab house development, you know, that they built really quickly to house all the veterans. So it's interesting. The West Island, it also feels different city to city, right? Like Point Claire Village and St. Anne's do feel more like I do find within the city, within a lot of the restaurants, it's like very anti-car culture. Yeah. But then the second you go near the 20, right? Everybody's like, what do you mean no car? Yeah. So there's a dynamic. How is Kirkland in that regard? Is it you think just purely car centric?
It's so car centric, and it's like
hang out at the Colisée.
It's so obvious. Like you go from like Kirkland, and then you go to like, as soon as you go into like a neighboring city, then the bike path starts. Yeah. Like there's no bike path. Yeah. Like you when you go to Beaconsfield, bike path. That's or when you go on the border from like Kirkland to Point Claire, there's no bike path for a bit, but then they get like a dedicated bike path, 2-lane with like a raised sidewalk, and there's like 0 bike infrastructure in Kirkland. Yeah. It's like even like we have like a park that spans like the entirety of like Kirkland, like south of the 40, and it's like even the bike path there, it's like not marked, and it's like half pedestrian, half biking. So there's incidents where it's like people are walking their dogs, almost getting hit by a bike. Like it's just like, it feels like we're so lacking in bike infrastructure. And I know how
Kirkland also feels hotter than other towns. Maybe like the trees are a little less mature, you know.
I feel like Beaconsfield has more trees.
Yeah, Beaconsfield has more trees. Yeah. So it's like because of that, you have more of like a concrete, like, you know, the heat island effect.
Yeah. I'm sure there's data on that. I'm sure you could look at
there is.
Like tree cover and like, well, I mean, you're environmental, like.
But that's one thing I like. But as a kid, like now as I get older, like I could put terms to these things, but like it does affect quality of life, right? 100%. Because it's like in Kirkland, you know, me and my friends go after the Colisée, you know, let's go to Trat and let's, you know, grab a pizza or something, right? Was the hottest walk I've ever had in my life in the summer, right? But like an equivalent walk of like, and you know, obviously still car centric, but I've done it, like walking from here to like the basketball courts in Beaconsfield. It wasn't that bad because most of Lakeshore is covered by trees. Yeah. You know, so like in terms, that is also a huge aspect of like people going outside. Like I don't find people in Kirkland enjoying their front yards as much.
I agree with that. One thing I find Kirkland has done really well is like the parks. Yeah. Like I find like if you're going to like a park in Point Claire or Beaconsfield, there's a noticeable difference when you're at one in Kirkland because I find they've done a really good job. Yeah. Like there's amenities there that like I would have killed for as a kid.
That's true. A lot of the parks in Beaconsfield do feel like just a plot of grass. You know? Yeah. Like I remember, or like even in St. Anne's, we have some parks here and it's called a park and it's just a parking lot.
I parked up the street and there's like Carson Park or something.
Yeah, like, and it's not a park.
A plot with a bench next to like a building.
Okay, so now I'll get to my questions. Is there a particular moment that inspired you to run?
I mean, I've been interested in politics my whole life. I think the federal election kind of made me like I'd been I've been planning to run for a while, and then the federal election happened, and I was like even more like, you know what, like I'm just like I knew I was into this politics thing, but like I kind of realized like this is a chance. There's a municipal election upcoming, and like sure, like I'm gonna be running up against an incumbent because like this is before the incumbent had dropped out, but I was like, this is a real opportunity to like run a political campaign and like try and make a difference in my city, and a city that's given me like so much.
Yeah, and Now, one of the reasons I was trying to take this initiative is because I realized, as important as the federal elections are, and you said that that's what inspired you, they're always so polarizing, right? Whereas I feel like municipal elections, like, I, for the life of me, can't tell you what mayors are attached to what, I'm not, like, when it comes down to, like, a lot of the political parties in mayoral elections, and I will say this as a young person, I don't know what half of it, like, is aligned with. Most of the time you're just voting for the person themselves.
Yeah.
That's what I find. But at the same time, many people aren't even voting. So, and we were talking about this right before we started running the camera, but it's like most of what affects us in our lives directly, it does happen on a municipal level, right? We might talk about making the country more accessible, more inclusive. But a lot of that happens by building accessible, inclusive spaces in our neighborhoods, right? Making more, all these things. So what are some policies that you want to work towards? What's your vision of the town?
Yeah, I mean, Kirkland as a city, in my opinion, will change quite radically in the coming years. The REM is obviously a very big thing. And there are like concerns about that in terms of like parking and also accessing it and bus lines. But I think Kirkland is a city that's growing like quite a bit, and then the REM will change the dynamic of the city, just as we get like a really like a high speed rail going to and from downtown. So in terms of my vision for Kirkland, like I think we need to like look at our city and recognize that like accessibility is one of the biggest issues, and like there's studies that you can find where it's like the ease of access for like an elderly person to like get to like a bus stop has like a real impact on whether or not they'll be taking the bus and like going around, and like in terms of their mobility. So and then also for like young kids, like having places to bike that are safe. Like you can't bike down St. Charles. It's like there's no dedicated bike path. You can't really, you could bike on the sidewalk, you're not supposed to. Like the city just needs to be more accessible for people that aren't in cars. And the vision that I have for the city is kind of just like quality of life. Like the city does do a lot of things right, and the city does, the cities run well. Like I know other cities have problems, and not to put down the cities, but like if you have an issue, the city will come out to your house relatively quickly and help you. Public security is good. The parks are terrific. There's the maintenance is quite good, and we don't have any issues yet with like trash collection, because I know some cities have been going to like garbage twice a week, so we don't have any issues with that. Just there's things that I think need to be fixed to kind of just future-proof the city and turn into a more accessible space as the city grows, because the city is growing. So
you're gonna have a lot of influx of newer people coming from downtown, right? That are gonna say, I'm looking for a new place to live. And then, seeing how you can both be welcoming to that, but also keep it and not like pushing out the residents that are already there and making everybody feel welcome. It is a big challenge. It's like so easy to say that we need an inclusive message, but it's a big challenge. So I commend you for taking on that challenge. And then that's why I'll bring it to the youth. Only 22% in our age bracket in the Montreal election voted, right? And for how passionate we tend to be about politics, right? Most of the time it's because we're actively studying these things, or, like that's just so low. How are you gonna position yourself to things that would appeal to the youth? But now, since you are the youth, I'll say this, right? Since we know that the youth doesn't vote as much, how are you gonna position yourself to make sure that the older crowd trusts you, right? Because that is the voter base. And as much as we say, hey, let's convince the youth to vote, a lot of people have to like sit there and say, well, okay, look, I'm trying to convince the youth to vote, but the people that vote are the older people. So I'm gonna set up my campaign to kind of take care of them. So how do you balance that? Because you being youth automatically puts you as the messenger of the youth. It automatically, whatever you do is the policy of the youth, even if we disagree, just because it's coming from a young mind. That is. So how do you now convince the older crowd?
So in terms of the youth thing, what I've realized, like younger people, and my view of like politics being important to young people is a little distorted, because like I do study politics. So, like to everybody who I'm in class with, politics seems like the most important thing. But in terms of like appealing to the youth, like something I just like finding issues that are important to them. And one thing I did was like before this started, I was like, what are services that the youth actually uses in Kirkland? bus. Well, we don't have much control over that. It's controlled by like the STM, the library. I have a few plans at the library, like in terms of like expanding, like opening and stuff like that. But so finding issues that are important to the youth to like bring to people, because I know that like because I am the youngest, like then I'm like, people are like, oh, like this guy is talking for the youth, but like meet a 20-year-old, they're going to be skeptical. They're going to be more skeptical about another 20-year-old than they are.
That's fair, because you could level with them and then you say, I don't know about your idea. When an older person says an idea that appeals to young people, you're just like, well, at least he cares about me.
Yeah.
So there is that element.
And the age is like a little more authority, like a little more trust. But in terms of like, because the majority of people who vote are like old.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly like what's the biggest demographic, but I'm pretty sure it's like over 50, at least in municipal elections. And I would just say I try to appeal to the fact that like I know what it's like having to get around like without a car.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like having knocked on a lot of doors, a lot of elderly people in Kirkland like to walk. They want to walk everywhere, but a lot of them see like the lack of like just how like harsh it is walking on St. Charles. Like a lot of people have raised to me that like when you walk down like other busy boulevards or avenues, like you have like a bit more.
I mean, like, sometimes it feels a little dangerous to drive, so walking is a whole different story, you know.
Like if you're walking down Hymas and you're in Point Claire, it's really nice. Like I've walked down the entirety of Hymas in the Point Claire part, and it's so nice. Like it's just like you're a lot farther from the cars. There's like plants on both sides. Like it's so nice. But then when you're on like Kirkland, you're on Hymas, it's like. The cars are right next to you. There's like no, like it's just a sidewalk down the road, and I know that's like the traditional.
And part of that is that, you know, how like, and so much of this is leveling with families too, right? Because it's like a lot of people say, well, no, look, I drive my kids everywhere, right? But you don't feel as comfortable letting your kids out unless it's safe to, like, if you don't feel safe walking, you're not going to say, hey, I don't know, maybe the kid's name's Timmy. Hey, Timmy. Just go out, come back later in the evening. Yeah. You know, you're going to be like, well, I don't even feel safe walking outside. Where are you going? Yeah. You know, and now us being in a position where we're so cooped up inside in our houses, right? Like even something like making something, because you're not talking about, you know, let's destroy all the houses and make European style, you know, you're saying, hey, I just want it to be more walkable, more friendly. Yeah. Right. You're not saying anything insanely radical. So I think that is something that would appeal to a lot of people as an issue in Kirkland. And I like the fact that you're giving like straight examples of like right when you go into Point Claire on the same street. It's a different thing.
It's a different story.
Yeah. Now, when you talk to the youth, is there any kind of prospect? Because maybe I talk to a lot of pessimistic people. Maybe they're realistic people. They say, well, bro, why would I vote? I don't even know if I could afford to live here. You know? Yeah. Do you get that at all?
I mean, I get people who bring up like the general cost of living thing, and it's tough because like the municipality can't do much. Like the majority of the taxes at the municipality levels is like minuscule compared to like what like the federal or like provincial tax looks like. But I mean, I get a lot of people who are like, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford a house here, even though like I grew up here, and like. Well, and for them, like, it's more of like this anxiety of like, I won't be able to live anywhere. I'll have to live like an hour off the island because like a house is like $1 million.
And there's an anxiety too because there's not much job prospect there, right?
It's tough to. Youth unemployment is kind of at a record high right now.
Yeah, so. It's very tough to it's very tough to digest. You know, like I sit here and I get nervous about it. I'm just like, oh my God, you know, like I remember me and my friend once. We sat down and we were calculating. We were like, man, to live the life our parents afford right now, we need to make triple the income our fathers make. Yeah. Right? Triple what they make just to afford what we are today. And the thing is, most of the time, for most of Canadian history, if you made what your dad made, right, or a bit more, right, you lived a better life, right? But now to say, I have to make 3 times more than you, and I can live the same life. It's very like, you know, it's underwhelming. It's like, you're stressful. So leveling with the youth is probably a hard thing for you to do, because when I talk to you, even the way I'm talking to you right now, I feel very comfortable. You're my age. Yeah. Right? But when an older person talks and they say, you know, I care about youth issues, we say, well, you probably care. I don't know. You know?
Are you just saying that, or do you like, you know?
So in terms of building some kind of business opportunity or some kind of programs or community equity, all these buzzwords, how do you, do you have any kind of strategy for that to say, hey, you know what, maybe we want to invite more industry into Kirkland, or, the REM is going to be here, so we want to have this kind of affordable housing for kids that want to live here and they're going to work downtown.
Mm-hmm. So to address the first thing you brought up, like a couple minutes ago when you brought up I don't even know if I want to let my kid outside because I don't know if it's safe. I think a big thing is people don't know who their neighbors are.
Yeah.
You live on your street and you probably know the houses next to you, in front of you, but that's it. People more and more, because they're becoming more isolated, they're just they don't know who lives around them. They don't know the people in their neighborhood. And I feel like that's what makes them not feel safe to let their kids out. I think one of those things is you have to bring the community together. And I think there needs to be more events from the community. In Kirkland, we have Christmas related, we have a pretty big Christmas celebration.
Yeah.
And we have Kirkland Day.
Yeah.
But in terms of just meeting your neighbors, and I know this used to be a thing, but when was the last time you ever heard of something on your street or your friend's street where they had a block party?
My street does, but my street's the only one. And that's crazy because I say this because my street has so much pride in the fact that they're the only street that does it.
That's crazy.
So that says something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying oh no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
My street does it. I'm saying my street has a lot of pride in the fact that it's the only street that does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which means that no other street does it, and it is true. My street every year we have something where everybody gets together, and I still don't know half my neighbors.
Yeah.
There's a high.
I still think it's a step.
Yeah,
right?
it's a step.
It's in the right direction.
But exactly, I'm a lot more comfortable with my neighbors.
Yeah.
But I go 2 streets over and I feel like I'm in some foreign land.
Yeah.
Right? These kinds of things do make you care more about your street. As much as we might try to pass 100 policies that say, we need to hire this many people for garbage collection, if you make people care about the town they're living in, they'll probably pick up the trash on the ground.
Yeah.
And it usually starts there. So how do you go about doing that in terms of are you trying to encourage block parties? Are you trying to be looser on the permits? Are you trying to say, hey, let's have a community center, let's have more events?
I just think so. I just think that there needs to be more events that have some kind of common theme that could bring people together. I know there's stuff with an Italian society, but I just think there needs to be and you could just start with having cultural stuff. You could be there's a lot of Polish people that live in Kirkland. We should start holding maybe once a year we hold some kind of Polish celebration at our community center. And you do one for all the I don't know how you would evaluate what are the biggest groups in Kirkland, but
I feel like food festivals bring a lot of people together too.
You could do a night where or a 2 or 3 day thing where you bring in food, vendors that sell food from major groups. You could have a vendor that comes in that sells German food or Indian food or you could definitely attract people, and maybe you're there and you see someone who's across the street from you that you never really speak to, but you're hey, well, he's at this thing, maybe I'll talk to him.
That's a good idea.
But I know you asked before, future of Kirkland, affordable housing, bringing in business.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? It's
tough. It's such a broad issue.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, the only thing you could really say is, I want to be the person that can work with the federal government in making sure that we get the grants to make sure that we can, yes, sometimes there's clear issues in certain towns where, they're too harsh on permitting or they're not allowing certain things to happen. But, I haven't looked too much into Kirkland, but, there's always something you could do. Mm-hmm. It's always good to keep the intention towards it. But it's a very difficult problem. I mean, if it was so easy and everybody wants it, you can't pass something in Kirkland that says, hey, I don't want all these big retirement funds buying up every single house. I don't know if there's anything you can't even do that. You can't. Yeah, you can't legally do that. I don't think there's anything you can do where you're just hey, you know what? Everybody that sells their house has to sell it at this. No, right? Yeah. There's enough autonomy in our system to where people can do for the most part. So all you can really do a lot of times is encourage certain things, position things a certain way where it's favorable, you create certain favorable outcomes. But do you have any kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, when I was trying to draft my plans and figure out like what we really want to say to people, I started kind of having this existential thing where I'm like, oh my God, like there's all these issues. There's nothing I can do about it. And I kind of just realized people at the end of the day really care that they pay their taxes, and they want to see services. They want to see some kind of correlation between the amount they pay and the quality of services that they get. And I just realized that, look, there's a million different issues, cost of living, like people becoming more isolated. There's all these like national issues that I can't do anything about really as a municipal councillor. But what I can do is make sure that if you're paying your taxes, you're getting good services.
I will give you an encouraging story though.
Yeah.
I met a guy in PEI. And this summer I did an internship in Halifax. Okay. And I met a guy in PEI, and he was very, very hell-bent on to improve PEI. He was writing letters to his local MPs. He was constantly just doing outreach, going to events, getting to know them, getting close. And as he was doing this, he also raised the ranks at the University of PEI. And now it came to it where they just got a huge federal grant to build like one of the country's biggest climate centers in Prince Edward Island. And they're trying to position Prince Edward Island as like the leading place in the nation for climate research, for all these things that are going on. And there was millions and millions of, Carney came the week before I went there. Carney was there hanging out with this guy, talking about ideas about the climate and what we're gonna do in PEI, right? Came to like break ground on the project. And this guy is a regular guy. I know his story. I know his story from when he was a student to how he came up through the university. Yeah. He was just very ambitious. He stayed active, and he had a particular goal in mind. And now 10 years later, it happened, right? So like as much as we a lot of the time say, you know, maybe his first email never got a response. Maybe his first 10 phone calls, nobody answered, right? But if you keep trying, he's a regular guy. He wasn't even born here, right? It was the perfect immigrant story of a guy coming here, really, really believing in the area he's in. He didn't move to Toronto like everybody else. He stayed in PEI and he said, I'm going to make this better. Right? So I look at that story and say, okay, I think that's a great point of reference of we could achieve a lot of things, even if we're at a municipal level, even wherever we are. You know, Kirkland might even have a higher population, you know, or a bigger budget. It's probably close. So I commend the efforts. I think that's really important. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add before we cap off the interview?
It's been quite the experience running for City Council, and yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like, I feel like I tried encouraging some of my friends to run. They're like, "Oh, like I'm not interested in politics." And understandable. It is like a little like ballsy to put yourself out there. Not to like commend myself, but like it's just like it's been quite the experience, and I have really enjoyed it. And it's kind of made me like, obviously I have political ambitions like past this, but it's just been like it's been quite like a crazy experience, and like just like really being in it and being like, wow, like there's people that I'm running against, like people are moving quickly, like hitting up houses, putting up signs. Like it's just like a really unique experience. I feel like I wish a lot of people could like experience it to maybe kind of be like, oh wow, like politics is like this. Like this is what politics is really like.
Well, you're young, so I could probably ask you to maybe try dropping like a documentary on this afterwards. Try to put all the clips together, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not about, I can't comment on success and who's going to win, but just the message of, I didn't even know you could run when you were 20. I didn't even know that. And I feel like most people, when Dave told me that you were 20, I was like, you're allowed to run at 20, right? You just think you have to be like, you think I just thought there was some guideline that said you had to be a certain age, right? I think, we talk so much about making change. I think this is a great way. We need to just make people aware that, hey, you could run when you're 20 years old. You can, you like the guy whose story I told you about, he's like 50, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? Which means he started when he was like 40 or 35, right? We could start when we're 20. We don't have to wait till we make it and get ourselves established to do all. We could start right now. And you know what? Maybe if we start when we're 20, we start when we're 25. By the time we're 35, that 10 years, then we're going to be sitting at like the most beautiful community center, or we're going to be sitting and we're going to be saying, hey, you know what? I created 1,500 jobs in the last 10 years in this place, and maybe it didn't start by me making a business. It started by me just advocating for this, me just trying to make a better community. Maybe I got 20,000 trees planted in this. Maybe whatever the achievement is, when you spend 10 years, you could start today. And I think that's a great message that you've inspired me to do, right? It's like you could just start now. I don't even know. I don't even know.
It's like criminal how little involvement there is from young people in politics. But most people think you got to be like 50 and you've already had your career, most of it, and then you run. But no, like it's just, I was just like, I'm looking around me, I'm looking at all the other city councils from all the other cities. I'm like, everyone's like not in a rude way. It's like everyone's like so much older than me. Like there's not even like one person who's even like 30, and I'm like, it's just a gap. It's just a really big gap. And when you look at a city council and like everyone's like very old, and you're just like, how could someone?
It's tough to understand the issues.
If you're 70, how are you going to understand the issues of like a 16-year-old going to high school in your district? Like,
you're not gonna. No one understands the value of the trees you have to climb in a neighborhood. And if you moved into the neighborhood and there was never trees to climb, but if you lived in the neighborhood and you saw those trees get cut down, you're just gonna be like, bro, I remember when I could climb trees in this neighborhood, Anyways, I think the camera also times out after like 30 minutes, and it's been 31.
Hey,
so, cool. That was
good.
Yeah.